Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place where we dig into big ideas, trying to find those nuggets of knowledge that really shift how you see things.
That's the goal.
And today, we're exploring something that sounds, well, almost too big to be true. What if understanding global poverty, how a single cell works, even how the universe began? What if it all boils down to the same fundamental pattern?
It sounds like science fiction almost.
It really does, but that's exactly the claim behind the concept we're diving into today.
We're talking about Dr. Nimrod Israeli
Right.
and his idea, the universal law of increasing complexity,
Hmm.
ULIC for short.
Right, ULEC. And it proposes this unified framework that somehow connects societies, cells, atoms, pretty much everything.
Yeah, our source material today comes from excerpts of Dr. Israeli's work, and it
Mhm.
really challenges you to look for these universal truths in maybe unexpected places.
Absolutely. So our mission today is to unpack this pattern for you. We want to pull out the key insights and show how this, well, pretty profound idea might shed light on almost everything around us.
From the tiniest particles right up to, the biggest cosmic events.
Get ready for some serious aha moments, hopefully.
It's quite a journey, and what's really fascinating, I think, is where Dr. Israeli actually started his thinking on this.
Right. It wasn't staring at the stars initially, was it?
No, not at all. His starting point was much more grounded. It was the very real, very urgent problem of persistent poverty. He was looking at hundreds of millions of people, especially smallholder farmers who seemed trapped.
Trapped in these cycles of stagnation, yeah.
Exactly. Despite aid, despite new tech, despite reforms,
Hmm.
these patterns just kept repeating.
And that was the puzzle, right? Because it wasn't everywhere. He noticed that in basically identical environments, some communities would thrive, they'd lift themselves out, while others, right next door, almost stayed stuck.
That's the key point. It couldn't just be explained away by the usual things like corruption or lack of education. Not entirely, anyway. It suggested something deeper was missing.
A hidden variable.
Precisely. And that led him to shift his focus. Instead of asking, what do these communities have, he started asking, how are they structured?
Ah, okay.
In his own background, growing up on a kibbutz in Israel, that became really important. He realized the kibbutz was successful not because it had more stuff. Next
Stuff, better tools, or more money initially.
Right. It was successful because of what he called its unusual form of organization. Its internal setup, how cooperation worked, this really strong shared sense of purpose.
The structure itself.
Yes. That's what led him to this idea of invisible scaffolding. These underlying frameworks, social, organizational, directional, that seem to be the difference between moving forward and staying paralyzed.
So the design of the system was the critical factor, more than just the raw materials inside it.
That's the core insight.
And eventually, this thinking solidified into the universal law of increasing complexity, ULEC. Now, before we lay out the core conditions, I want to ask you, listening right now, what would you guess? What are the, say, 3 essential things any system needs to grow, to evolve, to get more complex?
Whether it's a village or a galaxy,
Yeah, anything. What does it need?
it's a great question to pause on. Because Dr. Israeli argues there are 3 core conditions, and they seem to apply everywhere. The first one is pretty fundamental. A steady flow of energy.
Okay, energy, the fuel.
Exactly, the power source. Think of, a cell's metabolism or a society's economy or even the fusion inside a star. Without energy, nothing happens.
Makes sense. Total stagnation without fuel. What's number 2?
Number 2 is a structure capable of organizing and containing that energy.
Containing it like a framework.
Precisely. It's the arrangement, the blueprint. It gives the
Yeah.
energy form, stops it from just dissipating into chaos like the parts of an engine or the legal system in a country. It channels the energy so it can do useful work.
Yeah. Okay, so energy is the fuel, structure is the engine. What's missing?
The third piece is a direction that channels it toward emergent outcomes.
Direction. Like a purpose or rules.
Yeah, all of that. It's the guiding purpose, the rules, the constraints, maybe a shared goal. It determines where the energy flows and what it actually builds or becomes. It's like the navigation system or, the genetic code in biology or a constitution for a society.
Got it. So not just energy, but organized energy flowing within a structure towards something specific.
That's it. And the crucial consequence here, the thing Dr. Israeli really hammers home is this. If even one of those is missing energy, structure, or direction, or if they're blocked, or just not aligned properly.
Then the whole thing falters.
Exactly. The system can't increase its complexity. Energy just leaks away, cooperation breaks down, things actually tend to regress. It might even fall apart.
And that connects back to the poverty paradox he started with.
Right. A community might get energy, like
Hmm.
foreign aid, but if it lacks the right internal structure or a clear shared direction to use it effectively,
Hmm.
it doesn't lead to lasting progress.
That really reframes how you'd think about development aid, doesn't it? It's not just about pouring in
It's
resources.
about the system's capacity to absorb and direct them.
Okay, so that makes sense for human systems. But this is where Dr. Israeli took that huge leap, right? The really audacious question.
If it's truly universal.
Yeah, if it's a universal law, shouldn't we find it way beyond people? Shouldn't it be operating in nature, in the cosmos itself?
That's where it gets really mind-bending.
It really does.
And when you start looking, it's quite striking how many of the most powerful forces in our own lives are, well, intangible, invisible almost.
Like what?
Well, think about a nation. What is a nation? It's not just land and people. It exists because of a shared belief, a mutual recognition.
Right, it's an idea we all agree on.
Exactly. Or a company. It's a legal entity. It exists on paper, guided by a mission, long after the founders are gone. Money only has power because we collectively trust it.
Constitutions, religions, scientific goals, cultural values.
All of those. They act as this invisible scaffolding. They are the non-physical structures that organize our collective human energy and give it direction. They're what allows us to cooperate on massive scales.
That's fascinating when you frame it that way. Things we just accept as real are built on these shared agreements. And thinking about you, listening, what stands out to you? How do these unseen forces shape your world, maybe your job, or even how you see yourself?
And they're not just flimsy ideas. They become incredibly durable because we institutionalize them. We
Yeah.
embed them in laws, in systems, in norms, in customs, in rituals. That makes them last way beyond any single individual.
Ah, okay. That makes sense.
And a key moment for this historically was what's often called the linguistic revolution.
Language itself.
Yeah. Before complex language, humans could mostly communicate about, what was right there, a predator, some food, things you could see or point to.
Concrete stuff.
Right. But language gave us this radical new ability to talk about things that aren't there, things that are absent or even invisible.
Like ancestor spirits or the future.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Or divine will, future promises, abstract concepts like justice or freedom. Suddenly, we can use symbols, stories, myths to create shared narratives, shared values.
And these stories could bind people together who weren't related, who might never even meet.
Precisely. People could cooperate based on shared belief, not just on sight. That enabled cooperation on a scale never seen before in nature.
Which led to this explosion in complexity, huge societies forming, built around these shared symbols and meanings, not just family ties.
It reminds you of what Yuval Noah Harari talks about, right?
Yeah.
That our power comes from cooperating flexibly around shared fictions.
Shared fictions,
Right.
which then become real through institutions.
Yes, they become the structure and the direction for our collective energy. But, and this is key to ULIC, belief isn't enough on its own.
Need structure.
It needs structure to make it durable, functional. Think about a constitution or a business contract or even just the rules of a marketplace. They turn beliefs or agreements into workable systems.
They let goals outlive individuals, coordinate millions.
Absolutely. Think of ancient China. Confucian ideals, abstract values were codified into this massive imperial bureaucracy.
Yeah.
That structure turned cultural beliefs into enduring institutions that guided the state for centuries.
So it's a pattern we see again and again. Myth becomes law. Ritual becomes governance.
It's the conversion of collective energy, belief will, into functional structure guided by a clear direction. It's ULIC playing out in human history.
Understanding that really gives you a different lens for analyzing why, say, societies thrive and others don't. It's about that underlying architecture.
It really is.
Okay, so if this invisible scaffolding is so key for us, does this logic hold up outside human systems? Let's shift focus now deep into the natural world.
Let's do it.
We're talking about emergence here, right? This idea that whole new properties pop up that you just couldn't predict from the parts alone.
Like consciousness from neurons.
Exactly. No single neuron is conscious, but arrange billions in the right structure, the brain, give energy, let its processes run, and consciousness emerges. Something totally new. Does UIC explain that kind of leap in nature?
Well, the argument is yes, the pattern holds remarkably consistently. Let's break it down. Start with physics, basic matter, atoms.
Okay.
Atoms aren't just random piles of particles. They're incredibly structured. You have the nucleus, electrons in specific orbits or energy levels.
Governed by physical laws.
Exactly. Laws like quantum mechanics and electromagnetism. These laws act as the direction, containing and guiding the energy within the atom structure, keeping it stable. Without that structure and direction, the energy would just fly apart.
So even the stability of a single atom fits the ESD pattern. Energy, structure, direction.
Precisely. Which then allows for the next level.
Yeah.
Chemistry. Molecules.
How does it work there?
Molecules form through specific chemical bonds, specific alignments. These structures allow energy to be stored and circulated in stable, useful ways. Think about carbon.
The backbone of life.
Right. Why? Because its atomic structure is so versatile, it can form these long, stable chains, the perfect structure for encoding complex information like in DNA.
But structure isn't enough, you said.
Never enough on its own. You need the energy supply and the right direction, meaning the right environment, temperature, pressure, for that potential to actually do something, to form complex molecules.
Always the interplay of all three.
Always. And then you jump to biology, and it becomes even clearer, even more dynamic. A living cell.
It's a marvel of organization.
It really is. It's capturing energy, maintaining its internal structure against chaos, replicating that structure, following its genetic direction. It is ULIC in action.
And the leap to multicellular life.
That required an even bigger jump in complexity. Cells had to specialize, form tissues, organs. They needed complex communication systems, shared genetic programs, direction, all working within ecological constraints. It wasn't just more energy, it was vastly improved structure and clearer direction, leading to completely new capabilities.
You see this step change happening again and again.
Driven by the alignment of energy, structure, and direction.
But we have to bring in the counterpoint here. ULIC doesn't guarantee success, does it? The fossil record is brutal.
Absolutely not. It's not a guarantee of survival.
Most species that ever lived are extinct. And it wasn't always because they ran out of energy or ideas. Sometimes their structure just couldn't adapt to change. Their direction became obsolete.
That's a critical point. ULIC describes the conditions needed for complexity to emerge and potentially increase. But for that complexity to persist to survive, those conditions, that alignment of energy, structure, and direction must be maintained, and crucially, they need to adapt over time.
So emergence isn't destiny. Sustainability requires ongoing alignment and adaptation.
Exactly. But what's remarkable is that at every scale we look at in nature, atoms, molecules, cells, organisms, this triad, ESD, keeps showing up as the underlying mechanism. It's not just a handy metaphor.
It looks like a fundamental pattern.
And each time it reappears and aligns, you get higher complexity, new behaviors, new possibilities emerging.
Okay, so we've traced ULIC from human poverty through the scaffolding of society down into the building blocks of nature. Now for the ultimate test, the biggest scale imaginable.
The universe itself.
Can this law, this pattern, tell us anything about the origin and the overall story of the cosmos? What does ULIC say about, well, everything before the beginning and the order we see now?
Yeah, that's obviously a huge conceptual leap. How do you talk about structure before structure existed?
Yeah.
Or how did order arise from apparent chaos?
Right.
Now, ULIC doesn't replace cosmology. It's not offering a new theory of quantum gravity or anything like that.
Okay, good clarification.
But it does offer a structural lens. It helps us clarify the kinds of questions we should be asking about beginnings and cosmic evolution. We see the pattern, ESD, leading to complexity everywhere else. So the question becomes, how do we interpret that pattern at the cosmic scale?
And how could we interpret it? What are the implications?
Well, there are a few ways to think about it. One is that ULIC might be pointing towards an actual scientific law, suggesting the same deep principles governing societies and cells were also at play in the earliest universe.
A truly universal physical law.
Potentially.
Mm.
Or maybe it's more of a structural principle, a kind of fundamental template for how organized systems emerge and sustain themselves. Less a physical law, more a design principle of reality.
Which would make it a practical tool for us, even.
Exactly. A tool for you to use consciously to build more resilient systems in your own life, in your work, in your community, by ensuring you have aligned energy, structure, and direction.
And a third way.
A third way is to see it as a kind of guiding story, a narrative about how complexity arises, reminding us that even our smallest choices, how we organize things, how we set direction, they echo these grand architectural patterns seen in stars and galaxies.
That's quite profound. The idea that how we construct matters deeply. that aligning these three things might be tapping into the fundamental way reality itself works.
It suggests a universe that isn't just random, but has an inherent tendency towards organized complexity if the conditions are right.
And again, that if is crucial. Universality doesn't mean inevitability.
Absolutely. Collapsed societies, extinct species, dissolving star clusters. They're all proof that complexity only persists when E, S, and D stay aligned and adapt.
The system needs to maintain its integrity.
Precisely. But the continuity of the pattern itself is what's so striking. From a kibbutz figuring out sustainable agriculture, to civilizations rising, to cells replicating, to stars forming, this triad keeps appearing. And when it clicks, new possibilities emerge.
It's a really powerful unifying concept.
It suggests a deep coherence in the way things work, across scales we normally think of as totally separate.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. An incredible journey, really, from the struggles of poverty right up to the structure of the cosmos, all viewed through this single lens of ULAC.
The universal law of increasing complexity. Energy, structure, direction.
It definitely provides a new way to look at, well, almost everything, highlighting those invisible blueprints all around us.
And maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Whether you see ULIC as a hard law, a useful principle, or just a compelling story,
Yeah.
the takeaway seems to be that when you deliberately align energy, structure, and direction in your life, your projects, your community, you might not just be doing something practical. You might actually be participating in a fundamental design, something etched into the fabric of reality itself.
So think about it. Where in your world are those three elements working together? And maybe more importantly, where is one of them missing? Where is there energy without structure or structure without clear direction? That's often where you find stagnation instead of growth.
Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the universal law of increasing complexity.